Hello Yeez Media family. Hello book lovers. How are you? Today we present to you the best book written by Brian Tracy titled The Power of Self-Confidence. Subscribe to the media, like and share the video, and if you have any comments on the story, leave them in the comments section. Thank you. Now directly to the narrative.
Chapter 3. Achieving Competence and Personal Mastery. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, no matter what their chosen field. Vince Lombardi. You will only be happy, satisfied, and capable of enjoying high levels of self-confidence when you know that you are absolutely excellent at doing something that is important to yourself and others. What is it? What could it be? These are two of the great questions of life. Fortunately, you and every other person has the inborn ability to become excellent at what you do, and to achieve peak performance in your life and in your chosen field. You have the capacity to function in the exceptional range and to achieve mastery in any area that is important to you. The development of lasting self-confidence requires nothing less. The edge of the envelope. In the world of test pilots and prototype aircraft, as described in the book and the movie The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe, Farrar, Straus and Giroux, 1979. They refer continually to what is called the envelope. This envelope consists of an upper and lower edge. The upper edge marks the height and speed that any previous aircraft or jet has flown, up to the time of the most current test run. This upper edge of the envelope is the maximum height and speed deemed possible for a new aircraft before it theoretically comes apart in the air or malfunctions or self-destructs. The goal of the test pilot is to expand the edge of the envelope. His job is to fly ever faster and higher in order to discover the outer limits of speed, height, and endurance that a particular aircraft is capable of achieving. The test pilot continually takes the aircraft higher and faster until he feels that the plane has reached its absolute outer limits. This is where and when he pulls back to avoid destroying the aircraft, and even fatally crashing. This is called the outer edge of the envelope, and it then becomes the lower edge of the envelope for the next aircraft and the next round of testing. Every aircraft, no matter how well made, has an outer limit on its capabilities. It can fly only so fast and so high, and no further. Very little can be done to expand the mechanical ability of something made of metal by the hands of man. Expand your envelope. The major difference between you and an aircraft is that there is no outer edge to your personal envelope. As Emerson said, the power which resides in man is new in nature, and none but he knows what that is which he can do. Nor does he know until he has tried. Thomas Edison said, if we all did the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. Maxwell Maltz, the author of Cybernetics, said, within you right now is the power to do things you never dreamed possible. And this power becomes available to you just as soon as you can change your beliefs. In other words, the outer limit of your envelope, or the outer limit of your potential, is not fixed in time or space, like that of an aircraft. Your limits are determined solely by your own beliefs and by your own confidence in what you think is possible for you. Self-confidence and self-esteem. Your self-confidence is closely connected to your self-esteem, and to how much you like yourself. Dr. Nathaniel Branden calls self-esteem your reputation with yourself. It is how you feel about yourself and your abilities in relation to any situation that determines how much you like yourself and consider yourself to be a valuable and worthwhile person. The more you like yourself, the better you do. The flip side of self-esteem is what psychologists call self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is a measure of how effective and competent you feel you are to perform a particular task or to achieve your goals. This is called performance-based self-esteem. What this means is that if your self-confidence and your belief in yourself are determined by your self-esteem or how much you like yourself, then your self-esteem is determined by how capable you feel you are in any given set of circumstances. For example, if a problem comes up at work or home and you are so familiar with it that you can solve it quickly and correctly, your self-efficacy and your self-esteem goes up. You feel more capable and confident and more willing to take on other challenges and difficulties. You feel more positive and optimistic. You feel like an excellent person. If, on the other hand, a problem or difficulty came up and you were unable to do anything to solve it, and you felt frustrated or ineffective, your self-esteem would suffer and your self-confidence would go down. You would feel negative about yourself and your abilities. You might even become angry or depressed. You would feel powerless rather than powerful. That's why they say, in playing poker, the winners laugh and tell jokes, while the losers say, shut up and deal. Build your own self-confidence. The law of cause and effect applies to everything you are today and to everything that you become. If the effect that you desire is high and unshakable levels of self-confidence, then it is necessary that you engage in the same behaviors practiced by others who enjoy high and unshakable levels of self-confidence, and you will soon experience high levels of self-confidence yourself. Studies conducted on thousands of men and women who have moved from ordinary to extraordinary performance, and who have moved from feelings of inadequacy to feeling great about themselves, show that there is a direct cause-effect relationship between competence and mastery on the one hand, and self-confidence on the other. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi of the University of Chicago wrote an excellent book, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, Harper Perennial. Modern Classics, 2008. Peak experience is a form of natural high that causes you to feel absolutely terrific about yourself, and it gives you a wonderful overall feeling of well-being and happiness. The causes of this effect are now well known. Achieving peak performance. To attain this wonderful, healthy feeling of optimal performance, you need clear goals, challenging standards, regular feedback, total concentration, step-by-step success, and a feeling that you are expanding your capabilities to a new, higher level. When you have created a situation in which you experience all of these, you sense that you are working at the outer edge of your own personal envelope. You feel that you are getting progressively better and better at something you are ideally suited to do, and that while you are still working within the range of your capabilities, you are stretching yourself at every moment. When you are caught up in this kind of experience, you often lose track of time. You become unaware of hunger, thirst, or fatigue. You feel calm and clear-headed and euphoric. Tests show when you are in this state of flow, your brain releases endorphins, nature's happy drug, which causes you to feel happy and energized. Often, while you are in this state, the rest of the world seems to slow down. You seem to function with extraordinary clarity. You seem capable of accomplishing great quantities of work in a shorter period of time, with great accuracy and few mistakes. You realize that if you could have this flow experience on a regular basis, you could do incredible things in your work and in your life. Getting into the flow experience. Everyone has had this heightened experience at some time, usually when they have been under a tremendous amount of stress to get a lot done in a short period of time. However, at the same time, they had clear goals and a strong belief that they were capable of meeting the challenge. At this point, they kicked into flow and felt as though they had taken off and left the ground. You have had this experience yourself in the past. Often, it was so extraordinary that you remembered it for many months or even years. And here's the point. Men and women who achieve extraordinary things in life are merely ordinary men and women who have learned how to put themselves into flow and to function at peak performance more often than the average person. And what someone else has done, you can do too. In every study of success and self-confidence, in every situation in which a person enjoys high levels of self-esteem, self-respect, and personal pride, we find that they all have one thing in common. And that one thing is that each high-achieving man or woman is in the right place, at the right time, doing exactly the work that he or she is uniquely qualified to do. Not only are these people the happiest and highest performing men and women in our society, but you personally will never be truly happy and truly satisfied until you take your rightful place among them. Find your true place. One of the greatest joys of human existence is to find your true place, the job or occupation that is ideally meant for you, and then to throw your whole heart into doing it and doing it well. The most fortunate people in our society are those who are so totally absorbed in their work that they don't know where their work ends and their play begins. If they could, many of them would do what they love for free, and many do. If they won $10 million in the lottery, this is what they would consciously choose to do for the rest of their lives or until the money ran out. Spiritual teacher Emmett Fox referred to this as your heart's desire. He said that you are here on earth to do something special, something that perhaps only you can do, and that you will never be truly fulfilled until you find it and completely commit yourself to it. The remarkable thing, said Fox, is that you almost always have an idea of what it is. You only need to listen to yourself, and then trust the guidance you receive. Grandma Moses. When Grandma Moses, as she came to be called, was a young farm girl, she had a desire to paint, but her family and friends told her that that was nonsense. They told her that, as a farm girl, her role in life was to marry a farm boy and to have and raise farm kids. So she put her heart's desire aside and did what she thought she was supposed to do. She had children by the time she was out of her teens, and more children in her 20s. In her 40s she became a grandmother, and in her 60s a great-grandmother. When she turned 75, her husband was dead and her children were grown, and the doctor told her that she was too old to work on the farm any longer. She felt that she didn't have much time left, so she decided to fulfill her heart's desire and do some painting before she passed on. She went to a nearby town and visited an art store. The person in the art store sold her some paints and canvases and brushes, and showed her how to use them. She went back to her farm and sat down and began painting what came to be called primitive American landscapes. Grandma Moses finished her first painting when she was 78. When she was 101 years old, a major gallery in New York City held a showing of her works. In the last 10 years of her life, some of her paintings were selling for more than $100,000 each. Now, here's the rub. She was told as a young girl that she couldn't paint because it cost too much and no one could afford it. Yet, when she began painting, she earned more in a year from her paintings than she and her husband had earned in an entire lifetime of hard work on the farm. She was not only a complete natural, she was also a totally original talent. It's been estimated that, if she had begun painting in her late teens as she really wanted to do, and her paintings had been as successful commercially as they still are today, she might have become one of the richest women in America. Follow your heart. The history of the human race is written in the life stories of men and women who followed their heart's desires and did what they were uniquely qualified to do, and did it with all their heart. And no matter what your situation, this possibility lies open to you, right now. Colonel Harlan Sanders was 66 years old before he sold his first chicken, based on his Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe. He had been working as a cook, as the owner of his own small cafe, all his life, preparing fried chicken with his recipe. Then, at the age of 66, when he started doing what he should have been doing decades before, he began building his franchise business and became one of the best known and wealthiest people in the world. A young man, 16 years old, one of my students, became so excited about his potential that he started his own food service business, made a success of it, and sold it out at a profit by the time he was 18 years old. His accomplishment and his confidence as a result were so impressive that when he went to work for a major grocery chain, they promoted him up the ladder so fast that, before the end of his 18th year, he became the youngest full manager of a major grocery store in America. And he loves every minute of his work. Courage and confidence are essential. Countless men and women have written to me and returned to my seminars around the country, and they have told me that summing up the courage to do what they really wanted to do was the turning point in their lives. Some of them had dramatically increased their incomes, 5 and 10 times, although many had not. In every case, they were working harder than ever before, but as a result, they were happier than they had ever been. Their postures are strong and straight, their eyes shine, their voices are clear, their language is positive, and it's obvious that they are really enjoying their lives. They have a calm, quiet confidence in themselves that is unmistakable, and it makes them stand out from others around them. Your development of competence and mastery, and the self-confidence that goes with it, actually begin with self-analysis and self-awareness. Socrates said that the beginning of all wisdom and understanding is contained in the words, "Man, know thyself." In analyzing yourself to determine what it is that would be ideal for you to do, there are 6 approaches you can use. First, ask yourself these questions. 1. What talents, skills, and abilities do you have that seem to be natural to you? 2. What have you been able to do easily and well in the past that seems to be difficult for other people? 3. What subjects in school and what parts of your work have you naturally gravitated toward? 4. What did you most enjoy doing between the ages of 7 and 14? Ask your mother. This is often a predictor of what you should be doing as an adult. 5. What parts of your work do you love to do and seem to do well? 6. What work or activities give you a natural high? They give you energy, fill you with enthusiasm, and you lose track of time when you are doing them. Every person is put on this earth with a unique combination of talents and inclinations that makes him or her different from anyone else who has ever lived. And it only is when you find the special situation that can most benefit from your unique capabilities that you will be able to make the greatest contribution and enjoy the great rewards, both tangible and intangible. Finding the right job for you, and then becoming excellent at that job, is one of the chief responsibilities of adult life. The 4 quadrants of work. An excellent exercise in self-discovery is for you to divide your work activities into 4 quadrants. This was first suggested by Viktor Frankl, the founder of logotherapy. The 4 quadrants are divided by what is hard to learn versus what is easy to learn and what is hard to do versus what is easy to do. Quadrant 1, Quadrant 2. Hard to learn, hard to do, easy to learn, hard to do. Quadrant 3, Quadrant 4. Hard to learn, easy to do, easy to learn, easy to do. Quadrant 1. In the first quadrant you find those jobs and activities that are hard to learn and hard to do. These are probably areas for which you have no natural facility and from which you get very little pleasure. Like a sales person having to do detailed account reports or financial analysis, or a computer programmer expected to make sales calls or do public speaking. The individual and the occupation are not suited to each other. They are hard to learn and always hard to do. Quadrant 2. This quadrant contains things that are easy to learn but hard to do. Hard physical labor might fall into this category, like digging a ditch with a shovel. It's easy to learn, but it's always hard to do. Quadrant 3. This quadrant contains those jobs or activities that are hard to learn, but easy to do. Driving a car or typing with a typewriter might fall into this category. They are difficult to learn at first, but once you have learned them, they are easy to do afterwards. Quadrant 4. This quadrant, in terms of what you should ideally be doing, is the most important. These are the jobs that are easy to do and they were so easy to learn that you often forgot how you learned them at all. These are invariably the types of jobs or the kind of work at which you excel and which are almost effortless for you, although they may be difficult for others. This is the work or job that you should be doing with your life. Examine your work history. Look back over your life and ask yourself, what activities, behaviors, or decisions have been most responsible for my success in life, to date? You will probably find that less than 5% of the things that you have said or done have accounted for most of the success you have enjoyed. You may find that it was your unique ability to solve a particular kind of problem, or to take advantage of a particular type of opportunity. You may find that your special talent was an interpersonal skill that enabled you to influence and persuade other people at a particular time and place. You may find, on analysis, that it was an ability to take charge and accept responsibility for accomplishing a particular goal. Whatever has been responsible for your successes in life to date may be a good indication what you should be doing in the future. Design your ideal work life. Describe in detail the amount of money you would like to earn, the kind of work you would like to do, the size and character of the company you would like to work for, the type of people you would like to work with, the kind of customers that you would like to sell to, and the level of responsibility or position you would like to attain. As you think through the kind of job that would make you happy, you may find that it is a completely different field than the one you are in now. A woman who was working as an accounting clerk at a computer sales company in New Jersey noticed how much the salespeople were earning and decided that she wanted to get into telephone sales herself. When she applied for the job, she was told that the two occupations, selling and accounting, were totally different, and that a person from accounting had very little probability of success in selling. Nevertheless, she kept asking for a chance to try selling, and, finally, she was given a chance to replace a salesman who was on vacation. Today, the company sells more than $17 million per year in software and computer peripherals, largely over the phone. This woman is so good at selling that she accounts for more than 50% of the total revenues. She went from earning $2,500 per month to almost $500,000 per year. Best of all, she has never been happier in her whole life. Maximize your return on energy. Analyze your work based on the measure that I call return on energy. Leaders in every field deliberately apply their talents and energies where they can achieve their greatest return on the amount of energy, mental, emotional, and physical, that they invest in any endeavor. They refuse to take on jobs or work in areas where they cannot perform at exceptional levels. They treat themselves as valuable resources and they spend their energies very carefully. One of the questions that you might continually ask yourself is this the best possible use of my time and energy? Is what you are doing right now the most valuable thing that you could be doing, given your particular combination of talents and abilities? Often, answering this question will help you to see that there is a vast difference between what you are currently doing and what you should be doing if you want to be fulfilling more of your potential. Do what you love. Marcia Saintar wrote a top-selling book a few years ago whose title says it all: Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow. Dell Publishing Company. 1987. Almost every really successful, happy man or woman will say that the reason for their success is that they are doing what they love to do. Whenever a person is unhappy for any reason, I always ask them how much they enjoy their work, and would they choose to do this type of work if there were other options open to them. Invariably, when someone is generally unhappy with their life, especially a man, they are dissatisfied with their work for some reason. Unfortunately, there is an old myth in our society that suggests that work is a penalty you pay during the day so that you can get your enjoyment from other things in the evenings and on the weekends. Many people view work as a punishment that is unavoidable. They try to do it as well as they need to so that they don't get fired, but they never really think about whether they enjoy it. However, this attitude is not for you. Your life is too precious and valuable to spend it doing something you don't enjoy. Every minute of it should be spent doing things that you love and care about, and that make you happy. The wonderful thing is that the highest paid people in America, and worldwide, are often working at jobs that they enjoy so much that they hate to go home at night, and the lowest paid people are invariably found at jobs they dislike, in which they are just going through the motions. 2 questions to test job suitability. Here are 2 simple tests to determine whether you are in the right job for you. 1. Would you continue to work at that job if you won $1 million in the lottery tomorrow? If the first thing that you would do would be to quit your job if you had enough money, then this simply means that you are in the wrong position for you. 2. Use what I call the clock test. People who are in the wrong job watch the clock all the time. They are very aware of what time they start and what time they quit. People who are in the right job are seldom aware of the clock, except to know how little time they have left to do the work they really enjoy. However you measure it, choosing the right work for you is central to your enjoying high feelings of self-esteem and self-confidence, not only in your work, but in every other area of your life. Commit to excellence. Once you have chosen your ideal job or occupation for this stage of your career, your biggest responsibility is to make the decision to become very good, and then to become excellent at what you do. In a lengthy study on successful Americans, the Gallup organization discovered that expertise, or being recognized by your peers as one of the very best in your field, was one of the essential ingredients for success in American life. We said before that self-confidence comes from positive knowing, rather than positive thinking. It is only when you know that you are outstanding in your chosen field that you really feel terrific about yourself, and that you enjoy high levels of self-confidence. Men and women who are good at what they do, and who know that they are good at what they do, are very different from those who are only average. They walk and talk and dress and behave differently. They have an attitude of assurance and certainty about themselves that causes them to stand out in any group. They have a deep down sense of self-worth and self-confidence that is evident to everyone around them. Excellence is learnable. A man in his mid-20s came up to me at a seminar in Pittsburgh recently. He said that he had started in sales just over 4 years ago. When he began, he had no experience and knew nothing about either how to sell or his product, and how it could benefit his prospects. He told me that his basic sales training was provided to him by his manager, in the form of my audio program, The Psychology of Selling. As he listened to the program, which taught him how to sell professionally, step by step, he became excited about learning and about professional development. He listened to the audios, over and over, and then bought additional audio programs and began reading voraciously in the field of selling. He told me that in his first year, in a very competitive market, he made $22,000. However, as he read and listened to audio programs, and attended seminars, he got better and better. In his second year he earned $48,000. He became totally committed to continuous learning, and in his third year he earned $94,000. In his fourth year, he earned just over $175,000, selling the same products, in the same competitive market, to the same customers, at the same prices and under the same economic conditions. And he had driven to the seminar in his new Mercedes. Not everyone can experience such extraordinary financial results, but the most important thing about this young salesman was that he exuded self-confidence and personal pride from every pore. He had a positive self-image and high self-esteem. He was admired and respected by the people around him, and he was held up as a model to others of what they might become if they just worked on themselves and on their jobs hard enough. The law of accumulation. This brings us to a very important mental principle called the law of accumulation. The application of this law is a fundamental reason for success in every field, including yours. This law says that every great life or great career is an accumulation of hundreds, and perhaps thousands, of efforts that nobody ever sees or appreciates. Great success is the result of countless hours, maybe even months and years, of preparation and hard work toward the goal of becoming very good at what you are doing. This law of accumulation says that life is very much like a balance sheet, with both credits and debits. Every time you do something positive to enhance your abilities and to improve your life, you get a credit on the credit side of your ledger. Each time you waste your time, or neglect to take advantage of an opportunity to learn and grow, you get a debit on the debit side of your ledger. Here's the key: everything counts. Everything that you do or fail to do is written down and totaled up on your balance sheet. Everything that you do or fail to do counts in some way. Nothing is neutral. Everything is either moving you toward a better life, or moving you away from it. Everything counts. A successful, happy, self-confident person is an individual who has consciously and deliberately built up a lot of credits on his or her balance sheet. An unhappy, negative, or insecure person is a person who has a lot of debits on his or her balance sheet. Because the only things that count are your actions, it seems that every positive and constructive action you engage in adds up and increases your levels of self-confidence and self-esteem. The law of incremental improvement. Perhaps the most important corollary of the law of accumulation is what is called the law of incremental improvement. This is really the law that explains how you move from wherever you are to the top of your field. This is the law that explains all great success in America, or anywhere else in the world. This law simply states that a person becomes good at his or her chosen field by improving incrementally, continuously, over a long period of time. My friend, Darren Hardy, has written a book entitled The Compound Effect. Vanguard Press, 2011, in which he explains how it is that everything positive you do in your life compounds and multiplies, growing with force and power over the months and years. As Einstein said, compounding is the most powerful force in the universe. Pattern recognition. In a study on the subject of mastery, reported on in the magazine Psychology Today, the researchers concluded that mastery consisted of the ability to recognize a great variety of patterns in a given situation, based on what they called a high level of integrative complexity. Integrative complexity is defined as the ability to recognize patterns in a situation and to accurately predict what is likely to happen and the best action to take, based on previous experiences with similar situations. For example, a salesperson would achieve a high level of confidence and capability in a sales situation by having both studied his or her profession and by having been in countless previous sales situations. He or she would have developed the ability to integrate knowledge and experience and to recognize a particular pattern in the sales situation based on previous sales situations that were similar to this one. An excellent business person is one who has developed this same capability of recognizing a pattern when it occurs again, drawing on previous experiences, and, therefore, responding effectively by doing and saying the right things to complete the business transaction successfully or making the correct investment decision. The Grand Masters. The researchers found that a Grand Master in chess, for example, was able to recognize as many as 100,000 different patterns or layouts on the chessboard, and had developed a strategy to deal with each one. A national chess champion was able to recognize perhaps 50,000 patterns. A tournament chess player was able to recognize perhaps 10,000 patterns on the chessboard, and so on. Their conclusion was that it takes several thousand hours of research and practice to achieve and perform at exceptional levels in any complex field or any difficult occupation or profession. Although there are prodigies, people who succeed in a short period of time, these are very rare. Malcolm Gladwell, in his best-selling book, Outliers, Back Bay Books, 2011, quotes the extensive research that shows that it takes several years, on average, for a person to become excellent in his or her chosen field. According to Gladwell, mastery in any field requires 10,000 hours, or 7 years of hard work, or both. Most people only become wealthy after the age of 40 or 50, if they achieve it at all. It takes them many years of hard work, continuous learning, and experience to develop an extensive enough repertoire of patterns so they can recognize and take advantages of opportunities that appear to them. Up to that time, they make many mistakes, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The foundation of self-confidence. The law of incremental improvement is your key to an unlimited future of success, prosperity, and self-confidence. It doesn't matter where you are starting from, all that matters is where you are going. As Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can, with what you have, where you are. By applying the law of incremental improvement to yourself and your work, you can begin moving upward toward joining the great ones in your field. If you are doing what you love to do and you are doing it with all your heart, by engaging in continuous personal and professional improvement, you can begin to move forward at such a rapid rate that it will astonish you. You've heard of the 80-20th rule, which says that 80% of the income goes to 20% of the people. Your goal, if you are not already there, should be to join the top 20% in your field. If you're in the top 20%, your job is to get into the top 10%, and then the top 5%, and then the top 4%, and so on. Your goal should be to be the best. Your goal is to be recognized by those around you as outstanding in your field. Your goal must be to pay any price, overcome any obstacle, and make any effort necessary to become excellent in your chosen career. In just a moment, I'll show you how. Moving to the top. There is one small problem that you need to deal with before you become one of the best in your field. Earlier in this book I said that most of us grow up with feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. Because of low self-esteem and selling ourselves short, many of us never even think about becoming excellent at our work. It never even occurs to us that we have the ability to learn anything we need to learn to be able to do an outstanding job at anything we put our minds to. The fact is that, generally speaking, you have the capability to excel at anything that is really important to you. If anyone else has achieved a high level of competence in your field, then so can you. All you have to do is to do the same things, over and over, until sooner or later you get the same results that they have. This is the law of cause and effect in action. When you Practice this law in conjunction with the law of incremental improvement. You can move from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. Identify your key skills. Just as choosing the right work or career for you requires self-analysis and self-awareness, moving to the top of your field requires that you take your existing position and break it down to what we call its key result areas, CRAS, or to its core competencies. In every job, and in every company for that matter, there are a few key skills, seldom more than 5 to 7, that determine the success or failure of the person in that job. Wherever an individual is having trouble in his or her career, it is usually because he or she is weak in one or more of these CRAS or core skills. Wherever a person is successful, it turns out that they are strong in all the key skills necessary for success in that job. Here is a key discovery: your weakest important skill determines the height of your success in your work. You could be excellent at 6 out of 7 of your key result areas, but your weakness in the 7th area can hold you back for years. Analyze your skill levels. Your first job is to break your work down into its component parts, its basic skills, and then honestly analyze your level of competence in each one, by giving yourself a grade on a scale from 1 to 10. For example, if you are in sales, your CRAS, or core skills might be prospecting, establishing rapport, identifying problems, presenting solutions, answering objection, closing the sale, and getting resales and referrals from satisfied customers. A weakness in any one of these areas could be fatal to your success and your income. If you are in business, your CRAS could be leadership and management, strategic planning, marketing and sales, staffing and delegating, financial controls and administration, and production and quality controls. Each situation may be slightly different, but the same concept applies. Success begins by analyzing the individual parts of your performance and then making a plan to become very good in each area. Deliberate practice. One of the most important breakthroughs in personal performance and career success is described in Jeffrey Colvin's top-selling book, Talent is Overrated, Portfolio Trade, 2010. Colvin shows that most people start their careers with limited marketable skills, and then develop from there. It turns out that those executives who got to the top early in their careers developed the habit of identifying the most important skill they could develop at that stage of their career. They would then dedicate themselves to mastering that skill, one skill at a time. Once they had developed a key skill, they would then identify the one skill that could help them to advance further. Their entire career ladder consisted of mastering each key skill, one at a time, until the compound effect took over, and they moved rapidly upward in their jobs. Identify your key skill. A good exercise is to ask yourself, what is my limiting skill? What is it that I do, or don't do, that is determining the speed at which I succeed and move ahead in my job? What is the performance bottleneck or choke point in your work? What limits you or holds you back from getting to where you want to go? Sometimes, taking the time to develop one limiting skill will put your entire career onto the fast track. A manager in one of my seminars asked me privately why it was that he was continually passed over for promotion at his engineering firm, even though his boss acknowledged that he did excellent work. I asked him about the qualities and activities of the highest paid engineers in the company. It turned out that they, along with accountants, architects, and many other professionals, were rainmakers. They had the ability to make presentations to clients, and to sell them on the idea of giving work to their firm. He then told me that he was terrified of public speaking and any kind of selling. I told him that, if he wanted to move up in his firm, he should take a course in public speaking, overcome his fears, and begin bringing in business to his company. A year later, I was giving another management seminar that he attended. He had taken my advice, joined Toastmasters, taken a Dale Carnegie course, and become a fluent and popular spokesman for his company. He had been promoted twice, his income was up 40%, and he was one of the most respected people in his firm. His whole life and career had been transformed by the development of a key skill. All skills are learnable. Once you have defined your ideal job, and then broken that job down into its constituent parts or core skills, and then made a plan to become very good in each part of your job, then your final key to self-motivation and a feeling of Growth is to commit yourself to continuous, never-ending self-improvement. Make a decision right now to dedicate yourself to a lifetime process of personal and professional development. Here are 3 simple rules that will change your life. 1. Invest 3% of your income back into yourself. Spend 3% of what you earn on personal research and development, on upgrading your skills and abilities, and on becoming better at performing the most important tasks that are required of you. If you invest 3% of your income back into yourself, you will never have to worry about money again. 2. Read for 1 hour or more each day in your chosen field, underlining and taking careful notes that you can review regularly. A simple technique is to read and underline with a red pen and then go back and transfer all of those key points into a spiral notebook. You can dictate the key points and have them typed up for you, or you can use dictation software that translates your voice and which allows you to then print out the key points. You will then have a synopsis of the most important ideas in any book. When you review them, which only takes about 10 minutes or so, 5 or 6 times, you memorize almost all the key points. This method is used by some of the most successful men and women in America. 3. Listen to audio programs in your car. Turn your automobile into a mobile classroom, a university on wheels. Never drive your car without your educational audio programs playing. According to the American Automobile Association, the average driver spends between 500 and 1,000 hours each year in their car. If you turn this driving time into learning time, you can become one of the best educated people of your generation. Your most valuable financial asset. Your ability to earn money by applying your knowledge and skill is the most important single source of money in your life. This is called your earning power, and is the sum total of all your knowledge and skill applied to doing a job. Your earning ability is your ability to get results that someone will pay you for. This capacity represents as much as 80 to 90% of your total net worth. Your earning ability is either an appreciating asset, becoming more valuable each month and year, or a depreciating asset, losing value each month and year because of a failure to continually upgrade your skills. One of the smartest expenditures you can make is to invest in your earning ability, to become better at what pays you the most. This continuous investment in yourself will put you behind the wheel of your own life. It will assure you of greater success and self-confidence every day of your life, and by the law of indirect effort, a commitment to yourself will earn you the self-esteem, self-respect, and personal pride that you desire. You will eventually achieve the competence and mastery in your field that generate the feelings of self-confidence that make you irresistible. There is no limit to what you can accomplish if you know the direction in which you are going and you are willing to make the efforts to become excellent at what you do. Action exercises. 1. Make a decision today to become excellent at what you do. Set it as a goal, make a plan, and work on it every day. 2. Identify the jobs or parts of your job that you most enjoy, and then seek a way to more and more of those jobs. 3. Identify those jobs in your career that have been easy to learn and which are easy to do, and look for ways to do more of them, more of the time. 4. Identify the crafts of your work and give yourself a grade of 1 to 10 in each one. Remember that your weakest key skill sets the height of your success. 5. Identify the one skill that, if you were excellent at it consistently, would have the greatest positive impact on your career. 6. Develop a continuous learning plan for yourself, and dedicate yourself toward getting better and better at what you do. 7. Identify the most important result, or results, for which you are paid, and resolve to get more and better of those results each day. Chapter 4. The inner game of self-confidence. Confidence doesn't come out of nowhere. It's a result of something. Hours and days and weeks and years of constant work and dedication. Roger Staubach. Aristotle wrote in his famous Nicomachean Ethics that the common aim of mankind is to be happy, however each person defines happiness. One thing we know is that the more confident and the better we feel about ourselves, the happier we are and the more effective we seem to be in everything we do. Self-confidence, however, is really a state of mind based on your belief systems. Belief, or faith, enables you to act boldly in the face of uncertainty. Confidence enables you to face changes and difficulties and unexpected setbacks with calmness and clarity, and allows you to respond more effectively under any circumstances. The law of belief. The law of belief, an important corollary of the law of cause and effect, says that your beliefs become your realities. You do not believe what you see, but you see what you believe. William James of Harvard said that belief creates the actual fact. In the Bible, it says, according to your belief, it is done unto you. If you believe strongly enough and confidently enough, your outer world will tend to conform to a pattern consistent with these beliefs. In fact, your world today is largely an outpicturing of your innermost beliefs and convictions. You behave on the outside based on your beliefs on the inside. You see the world around you based on your beliefs about reality, regardless of whether they are correct. How can you determine your true beliefs? Simple. You can tell what you really believe by observing what you do and what you don't do. You can tell what you believe by listening to your opinions, your conversations, and by noting your decisions. When you truly believe yourself to be an exceptional human being, possessed of remarkable capabilities, you will walk and talk and act that way, and your inner convictions will become your outer realities. As the Bible says, all things are possible to him that believeth. The power of belief. There is a story about a man, many years ago, whose business was in serious trouble. He had lost some big sales, he was deeply in debt, and his suppliers and creditors were closing in on him. He didn't know whether he should continue struggling or just declare bankruptcy and let his business fold. He decided to go for a walk in the park that evening to think it over and decide what to do. He was standing in the park on a small bridge looking down at the water, when an older man appeared out of the darkness. Seeing his downcast look, the older man stopped and demanded to know what the matter was. For some reason, the businessman told him about all his financial problems, and how close his business was to collapsing, even though it was a good business and had a good potential future. The older man listened intently, and then said, "I think I can help you." He pulled a checkbook out of his pocket, asked the man his name, and wrote out a check for him, pushed it into his hand, and said, "Take this money. Meet me here exactly 1 year from today and you can pay me back at that time." Then, the older man turned and disappeared into the darkness. The $500,000 check. When the businessman returned to his office, he opened up the check and found that it was for $500,000. He thought it was just a joke until he read the signature. The signature read, John D. Rockefeller. He had received a check for $500,000 from the richest man in the world, at that time, the man who had formed the Standard Oil Company and who was well known for giving money away to others. At first, he thought he would cash the check and solve all his financial problems. But then he decided that instead, he would put the check in his safe, knowing that he could draw upon it any time. He would use this knowledge of having this amount of money to deal more confidently with his suppliers and creditors, and to turn his business around. With renewed enthusiasm, he plunged back into his business and made deals, negotiated settlements, extended terms of payment, and closed several large sales. Within a few months, his business was back on top, out of debt, and making money. The man on the bridge. 1 year later, he went back to the bridge in the park with the uncashed check still in his hand. He could hardly wait to tell the older man what had happened. At exactly the agreed time, the older man emerged from the darkness once more. Just as the businessman was about to give him back his check and tell him his exciting story of success and achievement over the previous 12 months, a nurse came running out of the darkness up to the old man and grabbed his arm. She apologized to the businessman, saying, "I'm so glad I caught him. I hope he hasn't been bothering you. He's always escaping from the rest home and going around telling people that he is John D. Rockefeller." She took the old man's arm and led him away. The businessman just stood there, stunned. All year long he had been wheeling and dealing, buying and selling, and building his business with the calm, confident knowledge that he had a $500,000 check in his safe that he could cash at any time. It suddenly dawned on him that he had made his business successful based on his beliefs, even though the information on which his beliefs were based was false. It had been his self-confidence in action that was responsible for the turnaround in his affairs. First convince yourself Your job is to achieve the same level of confidence and belief as that possessed by that businessman. The world will largely accept you at your own estimation. It is yourself that you have to convince, before you can convince anyone else. But once you are absolutely sure that you have what it takes to master any situation, you will act in such a way that your beliefs will become your reality. We are really talking here about what we call mental fitness, or the hardy, resilient personality. Mental fitness is subject to the law of cause and effect. You can develop the kind of unshakable self-confidence that you desire by simply repeating certain thoughts and actions over and over, until they are driven deep into your subconscious mind and take on a power of their own. You can build your level of mental fitness just as you would build your level of physical fitness by working on your mental muscles in a specific way, until they are as strong and effective as you want. The power of suggestion. Perhaps the most powerful influence in determining your mental and emotional state at any time is the power of suggestion. The power of suggestion begins influencing you even before you are born, and continues from infancy and throughout your life, making you the kind of person you are today. Experts say that fully 95% of what you do, say, think, and feel is determined by environmental and psychological suggestive influences around you. For example, the average person is so susceptible to suggestive influences that a rude word from another person may cause him or her to be upset and angry for hours. On the other hand, a kind word of praise or recognition may cause him or her to be positive and happy for the rest of the day. We are all very susceptible to the suggestive influences that surround us. Control your suggestive environment. To enjoy high levels of self-confidence, you must be able to make up your own mind and free yourself from any influences that cause you to feel negative or unhappy for any reason. You must take full control over your own thinking and over your own suggestive environment, making sure that what you are allowing into your mind is consistent with the things you want and the person you want to be. And you must work to keep out all other influences. There are 3 forms of suggestion that can determine how you feel about yourself and how you think. The first is called external suggestion. These are all the activities that go on around you, from the moment you get up in the morning until your last communication or information input in the evening. Depending on how open and receptive you are, you can be inordinately influenced by television, radio, newspaper, the internet, conversations, work experiences, feedback from superiors, interactions with members of your family, even problems in traffic or changes of temperature on the outside. The great majority of people allow much of their lives to be determined by what is going on around them. They convince themselves that they are thinking independently, whereas they are merely reacting to whatever happens instead. Control your emotions. This is why the negative emotions that upset and disturb you are usually unconscious, unthinking reactions that are triggered by external events. We know this is true because no one would consciously and deliberately decide to feel negative, angry, or upset. When people are in control of their emotions, they choose to feel happy. For example, one of the most common expressions of negative emotions has to do with what are called conditioned responses. These are automatic responses that we engage in when somebody pushes one of our hot buttons. A hot button is a habitual negative way of reacting to an experience or to something that someone says. Each person has a series of these buttons, and when we know a person well, especially in an intimate relationship, we know just what buttons to push to get whatever reactions we want. When one of your buttons is pushed, such as when someone mentions someone or something that you feel very strongly about, you respond with anger and defensiveness. If you hate to get cut off in traffic and somebody cuts you off inadvertently, your hot button will be triggered and you will be talking angrily to yourself and to anyone else who will listen for the foreseeable future. Think before you react. One of the ways to take control of your mind is to identify, in advance, the various external factors that cause you to become angry or upset. Make a list of everything that happens that might cause you have a tendency to respond negatively. Then, consciously make the decision that, in the future, when one of these issues comes up, you will instead respond calmly and positively and not allow yourself to become upset and angry. Each time something happens that would normally trigger a negative response from you, consciously decide not to respond or not to react in any way. Smile, take a deep breath and remain calm. The more you practice this, the easier it will become. You will become more positive and optimistic. Your self-confidence will go up and you will feel more in charge of your own life. You will begin to free yourself from being a slave to external suggestions that control your mental state. The power of self-suggestion. The second form of suggestion is called self-suggestion. Self-suggestion is when you put both hands on the controls of your own mental life, or step up to the keyboard of your own mental computer, and consciously program your subconscious mind with the thoughts and feelings that you desire. Self-suggestion is your key to building the kind of belief system deep within yourself that leads to unshakable self-confidence. The reason that self-suggestion works so well is because of the law of substitution. The law of substitution says that your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, positive or negative. If you consciously choose to hold a positive word or picture in your mind, you simultaneously block out the various inputs from external sources that might cause your thinking and feeling to be negative or inconsistent with your true desires. For example, if, whenever you begin to feel tense or uneasy or angry about something, you switch your mind and start thinking about your goals, your mind will switch from negative to positive instantly, and you will feel good about yourself again. The thought of a goal, which is positive and future-oriented, is inherently uplifting. You cannot think about your goal and be upset or angry at the same time. By using the law of substitution, you take full control over your suggestive environment, and over the information that reaches your subconscious mind. Make self-control into a game. When something negative or unexpected happens to you, immediately seize the moment as an opportunity to demonstrate calmness and self-control. Make it a game. Instead of allowing yourself to feel negative, deliberately force yourself to substitute something positive. Here is an affirmation that has been very helpful to me. I repeat it over and over until it becomes automatic, in almost every situation. When something goes wrong, I immediately catch myself by saying, every situation is a positive situation if viewed as an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. Whatever it is, I take a deep breath, relax, smile, and say, every situation is a positive situation if viewed as an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. I then look within the situation for something that I can learn that will help me to grow and develop greater self-mastery. This is a simple mind game that enables me to stay relaxed and in control of my emotions. It will work for you, as well. Just give it a try. The power of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion takes place when you have repeated messages to your subconscious mind so often that they take on a power of their own. They function automatically. We have found continually that happy, optimistic people have programmed themselves to respond in a happy and optimistic way to almost every situation. You can do the same thing. All of life is bound up and determined by your responses. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to what happens to you that counts. It is not the cards that you are dealt, but the way you play the cards that determines how well you do in the game of life. Your job is to consciously decide to use your willpower to keep your mind clear and to keep yourself positive and functioning at your best. A quick review. In Chapter 1, we talked about how important it is for your self-confidence for you to have clear values and to organize your life so that it is consistent with those values. In Chapter 2, we talked about the importance of having goals for every part of your life and assuring that your goals and your values are congruent. In Chapter 3, we talked about how important it is for you to commit yourself to achieving mastery in your chosen field, consistent with your goals and values. In this chapter, you will learn a series of mental fitness techniques that you can use to program your subconscious mind. You will learn how to develop the absolute conviction and confidence that you can achieve anything you set your mind to, and you will learn how to make this self-confident response an automatic reaction to anything that happens. Take charge of your life. The starting point of taking full control over your conscious and your subconscious mind is for you to accept complete responsibility for everything that you think, say, and do. You are responsible for whatever happens to you. And especially you are responsible for your responses to the inevitable ups and downs of daily life. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you Feel inferior without your consent. I used to think that setting goals and making plans was the starting point of success in life. After a while, I changed my mind because I realized that something else actually comes first. What comes first is the acceptance of complete responsibility for yourself and for everything that happens to you. Real maturity begins when you finally realize that no one is coming to the rescue. It is only when you accept total responsibility for your life situation, with no excuses and no blaming of others, that you move into a mental position to kick the long ball in your own life. It is only when you have accepted 100% responsibility for yourself that you are ready to take the next step and decide exactly what it is you want and exactly what it is you want to do. Accepting responsibility is not an option that is open to the individual. It is mandatory. It is an absolute fact of human existence. You do not have the luxury of blaming others or making excuses for parts of your life that are not satisfactory. As Henry Ford II said, never complain, never explain. No one makes you do anything or feel anything. You are where you are and what you are, because you have decided to be there. Everything that you are or ever will be is entirely up to you. If there is any effect in your life that you're not happy about, it is solely up to you to change the causes. You are completely responsible. Actions have consequences. Fully mature people accept that their actions have consequences. A fully functioning adult knows that he or she can choose an action, but once the action is taken, both predictable and unpredictable consequences will follow. The true adult accepts that for every cause, there will be an effect. For every action, there will be a reaction. You can choose the action before you act, but you cannot choose or control the consequence or reaction afterward. Intelligent adults are very careful about the thoughts they think and the actions that they take. They do not fool themselves or engage in self-delusion. They don't pretend that things might happen differently, nor do they trust to luck. Inactions also have consequences. What are called crimes of omission are often more serious to your long-term prospects than the mistakes you make. Omitting to think through your values, set clear goals, make plans, commit to excellence, and so on, can be disastrous to your possibilities of great success. Problems versus facts. The starting point of success is the acceptance of reality. What cannot be cured must be endured. Often people will come to me with challenges they are facing, and I will ask them this simple question. Is this a problem or is this a fact? If it's a problem, it's amenable to a solution. There is something that you can do to change it. If you are not happy with the situation, it is up to you to go and do whatever you can to resolve it. A fact, however, is different from a problem. It is something that exists. Like the weather, like rain, or snow. There is nothing that you can do about it. You can solve problems, but the reality principle says that you have to learn to live with facts. Something unfortunate that has happened is a fact. A sale that did not go through, a business deal that collapsed, a relationship that didn't work out. All of these are facts. Many people waste an enormous amount of emotional energy struggling with facts when they would be much better off concentrating on doing better in the future. Accepting responsibility is the beginning. Your goal is to be happy, confident, and optimistic. The way that you achieve this is by making these positive responses so automatic that you remain predominantly happy, confident, and optimistic, no matter what happens. You can achieve this result by taking specific, proven, practical steps that have been used by millions of people and which work with virtually unfailing certainty. The starting point is accepting complete responsibility for every aspect of your life. Control your thoughts. You demonstrate this attitude of responsibility by exerting your freedom to choose the thoughts you wish to hold in your conscious mind. You choose to think positive, constructive thoughts rather than negative, destructive thoughts. Psychologists refer to this as the cognitive control method. Cognitive control simply means that you control your thoughts, keep them positive, and repeat positive messages to yourself over and over until they become automatic responses to daily life. Positive self-talk. The first mental fitness technique is that of positive self-talk or the use of positive affirmations. The way you talk to yourself has an inordinate impact on your thinking and feeling. Many researchers, including Dr. Martin Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania, have discovered that high-performing men and women talk to themselves differently from low-performing men and women. Basically, your self-talk, or your inner dialogue, determines the tone of your emotional life. You are happy or sad, positive or negative, depending on what you say to yourself and how you interpret events to yourself as you go along. For example, if you are cut off in traffic and you immediately become angry and begin thinking about how stupid and irresponsible and what a bad driver the other person is, you will trigger a very different reaction than if, when you are cut off in traffic, you excuse the other person by thinking to yourself that he or she must be late, distracted, or must not have seen you. It may be exactly the same external event, but the way you interpret it in your ensuing conversation with yourself will determine whether you experience positive or negative emotions about the situation. Your interpretive style. The starting point of using positive self-talk is to interpret everything that happens to you in a favorable way. Become what W. Clement Stone called an inverse paranoid. Imagine that the whole world is in a giant conspiracy to help you to be successful and happy. Imagine that everything that happens is happening to teach you something valuable and to move you closer to achieving your most important goals. Just as a paranoid is convinced that there is a conspiracy against him, an inverse paranoid is convinced that there is a conspiracy for him or her. Practice the wonderful mental quality of serendipity. In the fairy tale, the three princes of Serendib traveled around finding that every apparently negative or calamitous event they witnessed turned out to be positive and beneficial in the end. Make it a game to look for the good in every situation. Practice positive expectations. The law of expectations says that whatever you expect, with confidence, becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. When you develop an attitude of positive self-expectancy, you become a more optimistic and cheerful person. Whatever happens, you immediately interpret it in the best way possible. In Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich, Tribeca Books, 2010, he wrote that one of the characteristics of the most successful men and women in America is that they always look for the opportunity or benefit within every setback or obstacle. Because of the law of substitution, if you are looking into every difficult situation for the lesson you can learn or for the possible opportunity it might contain, your mind will remain positive and you will continue to function at your best. Talk to yourself positively. Whenever you think of an upcoming event, talk to yourself in positive language. Perhaps the most powerful affirmation of all for building self-confidence is for you to repeat, over and over, 50 to 100 times per day, the words, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. These simple words are the verbal antidote to the fear of failure, which, as you know, is the great destroyer of self-confidence and probably the primary reason for failure in adult life. However, you can diminish the fear of failure in any situation by repeating, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Whenever you think of an event that causes you to feel nervous or insecure, whenever you have something coming up that fills you with trepidation, exert your powers of self-talk and self-suggestion by saying, I can do it, to cancel out and override any negative emotions associated with it. Control your thoughts and feelings. The most powerful affirmation for building self-esteem are the words, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. These simple words, repeated often enough, with energy and enthusiasm, will eventually be accepted by your subconscious mind. As your subconscious mind accepts this message of self-liking, your self-esteem goes up and your ability to perform and your levels of effectiveness improve in every area of your life. If you want to do your work better, just say, I love my job. I love my job. I love my job. In their best-selling book, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, Pocket Books, 2007, W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill recommend that you repeat, several times a day, the words, I feel happy. I feel healthy. I feel terrific. One of my favorite affirmations, whenever I'm worried about anything, is to cancel it by saying, I believe in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life. I believe in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life. You will find that it is almost impossible to worry and fret about anything, while you are repeating this kind of positive message to yourself. Unlimited potential. Your potential is unlimited using affirmations. Remember that affirmations are a way of programming your subconscious mind. By repeated affirmations, you can instill within your mind powerful, positive commands that will eventually determine your automatic thoughts, feelings, and responses. In order for affirmations to work, they must be phrased using the 3 Ps. They must be in the present tense, positive, and personal. The affirmations, "I can do it," "I like myself," "I feel terrific," are all positive, present tense, and personal. The subconscious is very literal in nature and can only accept commands phrased in the present tense. For some reason, it ignores negative commands and focuses only on the positive message. If a person says, "I will not smoke again," the subconscious mind drops out the will and not and only accepts the message, "I smoke again. I smoke again." It is better to say, "I am a non-smoker." The subconscious can form a clear picture of a non-smoker and will eventually adjust a person's habits and tastes to the point where they stop smoking altogether. You can create affirmations for each of your goals, and by repeating them continually, you program them deeper into your subconscious mind until they take on a power of their own. You then find yourself automatically motivated to do the things necessary to achieve them. Written affirmations. The second technique you can use to keep your mind positive and to achieve your goals faster is to write out your goals in the form of affirmations on 3x5 index cards. Write them in large black letters, and then read and reread the cards several times each day, reciting the affirmation to yourself each time. This and every other method or technique that you use to convince yourself that your goal is achievable will also help to build your self-esteem and self-confidence. This attitude or belief will cause you to take the specific actions that will eventually make your goals a reality. Practice visualization. The third technique for building self-confidence is the use of positive visualization. This is the process of creating clear mental pictures of the person that you want to be, doing the things you want to do, and achieving the goals you want to achieve. Because your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that you vividly imagine, it will give you the thoughts and feelings that would accompany your realization of your mental pictures. What determines the impact of visualization is the amount of emotion that you combine with the picture when you hold it in your conscious mind for reception by your subconscious. The more emotion with which you visualize, the faster the visualization will emerge in your reality. Mental rehearsal. An effective way of visualizing is a peak performance technique called mental rehearsal. In mental rehearsal, you go through an upcoming event in your mind, detail by detail, and imagine it happening perfectly, with you being completely successful in the end. Prior to any event of importance, you recall and relive a previous experience where you performed well. You take a few moments to replay in your mind a picture of the last time you did this particular activity successfully. If you have to write an exam of any kind, take a few moments to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and see yourself writing the exam easily, knowing all the answers. If you have to make a sales call, take a few moments prior to the sales call, close your eyes and see yourself in the sales call, perfectly relaxed, positive, calm, and in complete control. See the prospect or customer responding positively toward you and signing the contract or check at the end of your visit. If you have an interview coming up, take a few moments to rehearse the interview in your mind. Go through every stage of it, see yourself performing at your very best, and visualize the other person responding to you in a positive and productive way. Improve your mental pictures. All improvement in your life begins with an improvement in your mental pictures. If you want to wear beautiful clothes, you should purchase and read magazines filled with pictures of models wearing the kind of clothes you desire. Visit clothing stores of the very best quality and try on clothes that you eventually want to own. Flood your mind with pictures and sensations of the reality that you desire to experience. If you want to drive a better car, go and test drive exactly the automobile that you desire. Get the brochure on the car and put pictures of the car all over your house or apartment. A friend of mine used this exact technique to get his dream car. He cut out a picture of the new BMW he wanted and put it on the steering wheel of his car. Each time he looked down, he imagined he was already driving his dream car. Within 1 year he had it. When you take your desired car for a test drive, fill your senses with every detail of the automobile. Touch it and smell it and look at the upholstery and the dashboard and the interior design. Your main job is to get a clear picture for your subconscious to go to work on. Get your dream house. If you wish to live in a nicer home, go out to open houses in the neighborhood that you desire to live in. Walk through the homes and imagine living there. Don't worry for the moment whether it is possible or how high the prices are. Your primary job is simply to get the picture. Get magazines filled with pictures of beautiful homes and read them from cover to cover. Practice the law of concentration by allowing your mind to dwell on the things you want over and over. Especially, get the feeling. The key to activating your mental powers through affirmation and visualization is for you to also imagine exactly how you would feel if you had already achieved your goal. Imagine the feelings of pride and happiness and self-esteem that you would enjoy as a result of obtaining your objectives. This emotional component is the catalyst that causes the other mental programming techniques to work more rapidly. The end of the movie. One of the best methods for programming your mind and building your beliefs is what is called the end of the movie exercise. This is a tremendous tool for building self-confidence prior to any upcoming situation. It is very simple. Imagine that you have gone to a movie only to find that there are 10 minutes left of the movie before it begins again. Instead of waiting in the lobby, you decide to go into the theater and watch the last 10 minutes. You see how the plot works itself out, how the drama is resolved and how the movie ends satisfactorily. You then wait for a few minutes and when the movie starts again, you watch the movie from the beginning. Only now, however, you know that it turns out all right. You know how each part of the plot eventually resolves itself satisfactorily. Instead of becoming caught up in the drama and uncertainty and tension, you simply relax, peacefully, knowing how it all turns out at the end of the movie. You can apply this same technique to almost everything you do. You can manufacture your own self-confidence by imagining that no matter what your situation, everything turns out perfectly in the end. Create that end of the movie feeling in yourself whenever you think of an upcoming event or problem that causes you any tension or insecurity at all. Prior to a meeting or a sales call or an interview, take a few moments to get that end of the movie feeling. Then, just relax. No matter what happens in the interim, you don't have to worry at all. You already know that the situation resolves itself with good for all concerned. The interesting thing is that if you do this repeatedly, not only will you experience higher levels of self-confidence, but events in your life will have a tendency to turn out as well or better than you could have asked for or expected. Feed your mind. The fourth mental fitness technique, and another way to build your self-confidence, is to continually feed your mind with books, magazines, and audio programs containing positive and uplifting messages. Just as you become what you eat, you do become what you think about, as well. Everything that you take into your conscious mind, positive or negative, is either raising or lowering your self-esteem or self-confidence. To practice cognitive control, you must be consciously aware of the suggestive influences around you and make every effort to assure that they are positive and consistent with your goals and desires. Get around positive people. One of the most powerful suggestive influences in your life, perhaps the single influence that decides your success or failure more than any other controllable factor, is the kind of people that you associate with on a regular basis. The fifth technique to keep yourself confident and optimistic is to be around positive people, and get away from negative people. Fly with the eagles, rather than scratching with the turkeys. Resolve today to get the negative people out of your life. Because you are so inordinately influenced by other people, the people you work with and socialize with and spend time with, you must do everything to assure that you are surrounded by the kind of people you like, enjoy, and who make you feel good. Research has shown that habitual association with critical, complaining people can be enough by itself to sabotage all your chances for success and happiness. Negative people drag you down. They rob you of energy and enthusiasm. Attract positive people into your life. Fortunately, the law of attraction works very quickly when applied to people. You can begin to change your human environment by beginning, first of all, to think about the kind of people that you admire and want to be like. Think about the men and women, living or dead, whose qualities you respect and whose lives you would like to emulate. Read stories and biographies of successful men and women. Read magazine articles and interviews with people who are going somewhere with their lives. Begin associating with winners by first identifying with them mentally. As you think about people you admire, you will experience a subtle change in your thought patterns. As a result, you will begin to attract positive people into your life. At the same time, you will activate the law of repulsion, and negative people will start to move away from you. Just as positive, goal-oriented people will start to find you interesting. As you become a more positive person, negative people will tend to find you unenjoyable and uninteresting. In no time at all, your human environment will begin to change for the better. Everything counts. By the way, if all these exercises in mental programming seem like a lot of work, remember that both actions and inactions have consequences. Like the law of sowing and reaping, whatever you sow, or fail to sow, is going to determine what you reap in the end. The law of accumulation reminds us that everything counts. Every positive step you take is moving you toward building a great life for yourself. Every positive word or thought or image is deepening your belief and increasing your confidence in your ability to achieve wonderful things. Finally, remember the law of reversibility. If you act in a manner consistent with high performance and high self-confidence, those very actions will generate the feelings consistent with them. Every positive, constructive action that you take in the direction of your dreams and goals will reinforce your belief in yourself and in your ability to accomplish your ideals. Take action continually. Keep your vision clearly before you and take continuous positive action. Every hour and every day. Develop a sense of urgency. Move quickly when opportunity presents itself. Maintain a bias for action. Fast tempo is essential to success. And the faster you move, the better you will feel. The faster you move, the more energy you will have. And the faster you move, the higher will be your self-esteem and self-confidence. The world can really be divided into two categories, the talkers and the doers. The world is full of talkers who seem to be convinced that if they talk about it enough it is the same as actually doing it. But you are a doer, and it is always the doers who have been the movers and shakers throughout human history. It is the men and women who think, plan, and then take consistent, persistent action, who make things happen. When you engage in continuous action, not only will you feel terrific about yourself, but your ability to do whatever you want to do will grow by leaps and bounds. You will eventually become unstoppable. Action exercises. 1. Create a clear, exciting mental picture of your most important goal as if it already existed, in every detail. 2. Each day, act as if you were already the positive, self-confident, successful person that you are going to be. 3. Practice mental rehearsal prior to every event of importance. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, create a mental picture of complete success, and get the feeling of calmness and confidence you desire. 4. Resolve today to accept complete responsibility for your life. 4. Everything you are today, and for everything that you will ever be in the future. 5. Write your main goals on 3x5-inch cards and review them twice each day until they are programmed deeply into your subconscious mind. 6. Make a decision to associate only with positive people, and get the negative people out of your life. 7. Feed your mind daily with a steady stream of positive books, audios, conversations, and other suggestive influences that are consistent with the best person you could possibly be. Chapter 5. Capitalizing on your strengths. I have learned that success is to be measured not so much by the position one has reached in life as by the obstacles he has overcome while trying to succeed. Booker T. Washington. Self-confidence goes hand in hand with winning, with self-esteem, with success and happiness in everything you do. The more self-confidence you have, the more things you will try, and, by the law of averages, the more things you are likely to achieve. The more self-confidence you have, the less you will be affected by temporary setbacks and disappointments. The more self-confidence you have, the more likely it is that you will have a long, exciting life, full of riches, rewards, and self-satisfaction. Achieving these goals is the whole aim of this book. One of the starting points of self-confidence is for you to recognize that you have tremendous strengths of ability and character that you can bring to bear to accomplish almost anything you want. You are extraordinary. The odds are more than 50 billion to 1 against there ever being anyone with the unique combination of talents, skills, and abilities that you bring to your life and to your world. The incredible things that you can do and be, no one knows, not even you. However, the one thing we do know is that virtually everything noteworthy that you will ever achieve will come from your ability to identify your areas of greatest strength and then to capitalize on them in every situation. Your area of excellence. Each person has one or more areas of excellence that, if properly exploited, would enable them to be, have, and do almost anything they could possibly want. Each person, as the result of years of education and experience, has developed possibilities that make him or her different from all other people. The men and women who achieve the most, in every field, are invariably those who have taken the time to identify their areas of greatest strengths and then to capitalize on them continuously. We said earlier that life is the study of attention. Where your attention goes, there will your heart be, too. The people, things, and events that hold your attention are indicative of your entire mental makeup. The things you are interested in are an indication of what you should be doing more of. Choose the right field. In one longitudinal study examining 1,500 men and women who started out eager and ambitious at the beginning of their careers, they found that only 83 of them, over the course of 20 years, became millionaires. When they went back and studied the attitudes and decisions of these people, as they had evolved over the 20 years, they found that all millionaires had one thing in common. They had all chosen fields they enjoyed and then become totally absorbed in what they were doing. They had gone to work in an area of endeavor in which they were extremely interested and which held their entire attention. They had then thrown their whole hearts into becoming very good in that area, developing the strengths necessary to succeed in that field. They had then capitalized on those strengths by becoming better and better progressively over time. The conclusion of the study was that success, wealth, and happiness seemed to occur when a person was completely preoccupied doing something else. The wealthy people in this study never set out to make a lot of money. Instead, they set out to find fields that they really enjoyed, and then they devoted themselves to them. The money came as an afterthought. Happiness and satisfaction. The flip side of this equation is that you will never really be happy or satisfied until you have found a way to apply your unique human capabilities to your life and to your career. In the book, Working, by Studs Terkel, Pantheon Books, 1974, he reports that more than 80% of Americans do not feel that their full potential is being utilized in their work. They may be busy and they may be reasonably satisfied, but, way down deep, they feel that there is far more that they could do if given the right situation and the right opportunity. You probably feel this way yourself, from time to time. This is called the feeling of divine discontent. It is a feeling of uneasiness and dissatisfaction that arises whenever you are not fully challenged by what you are doing. To enjoy high levels of self-confidence and self-esteem, you must be working at the outer edge of your envelope. You must be stretching your capabilities continually. You must have a feeling that you are growing day by day with the challenges that your work is putting on you. Without that feeling of challenge and growth, you will experience a nagging discontent, and this is a good sign. Discontent and dissatisfaction almost always precede a constructive change that forces you to change and starts you growing, once more. Living congruently. In Chapter 1, we spoke about how important values are to your self-confidence. Men and women with clear values, who are living their lives consistent with their highest aspirations, are those who have a deep sense of self-confidence and well-being. We also said that the most important value you can have is the value of integrity. Integrity is the value that guarantees all the others. Having integrity means that you will not compromise on what you believe to be right, in any area. Integrity is absolutely essential if you want to capitalize on your strengths. It means, more than anything, looking at yourself honestly and making your decisions based on the fact that you are an extraordinary human being. Your feelings are very valuable clues to your choices and behavior. Your peace of mind and personal satisfaction is perhaps the most accurate guide you will ever have to doing what is right for you. Courage is essential. In combination with integrity, courage is the most important quality you can have if you want to be happy and self-confident. If integrity means being honest with yourself, then courage means having the strength of mind to follow where your heart leads you. Courage means having the ability to push aside all other considerations in order to remain true to the very best that is in you. Winston Churchill said, "Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it, all others depend." You know by now that fear is the greatest single enemy of self-confidence and self-fulfillment. It is not that people don't know what to do, it is usually that they are afraid to do what their hearts tell them to do. However, when you build up your courage, act by act, you gradually overcome your fears. With courage, your whole world opens up before you. Your self-confidence increases. You reach the point at which there are no longer any limitations on what you will attempt and what you will commit yourself to. Follow your heart. One of the greatest of the Impressionist painters was a man named Paul Gauguin. He lived in Paris, had a family, and worked in the post office for many years. In the evenings, he visited the cafes frequented by the Impressionist painters of Paris, getting to know them and asking them questions. He was fascinated by painting. The whole idea of painting absorbed all his attention. It was all he thought about. And yet with a family and a full-time job, there was no way he could devote himself to the painting he wanted so badly to do. One day, in a move that shocked everybody, he gave up his job as a postal inspector, left his family, and moved to the South Sea island of Tahiti. There, he began painting, poor quality at the beginning, but gradually improving as he developed his skill. His paintings now are worth hundreds of thousands, even millions, of dollars, and they hang in the finest museums in the world. He is considered by many to be one of the most important painters of the last 300 years. In a way, he was like Grandma Moses in that he finally decided to follow his heart and concentrate on what he had been interested in for all those years. Be honest with yourself. To follow your heart, you don't necessarily need to make dramatic changes in your life or in your relationships. What you do need to do is to see yourself honestly, as you really are, and have the courage to channel your energies and focus your strengths into your areas of greatest potential. When you do this, you will soon realize that you have made one of the best decisions of your life. Each person has great strengths and potentialities, and each person is put on this earth to harness those strengths and apply them to benefiting themselves and mankind. The life stories of the great men and women of history are usually stories of people who discovered their strengths and utilized them to the fullest degree. Churchill was a great statesman and orator. Florence Nightingale was a tremendous organizer. Florence Chadwick was an incredibly strong swimmer. Abraham Lincoln was a far-sighted and compassionate politician and president. Mother Teresa was a truly loving human being with an infinite capacity to care for and support the sick and dying people of Calcutta. Joe Montana was a quarterback with an incredible throwing arm with the Washington Redskins. All around you, you see men and women who have grabbed their major talents, like catching a pass in a football game, and are running for the goalposts. You can do the same if you have the courage to follow your heart. Compensating for weaknesses. No discussion of strengths would be complete without a discussion of weaknesses. Strong people have strong weaknesses, as well. In fact, most people have far more weaknesses than they have strengths. You may be strong in a few areas, but weak in hundreds of other areas. Weaknesses are an inevitable and unavoidable fact of life. As Peter Drucker said, all innovations must be simple if they are to work, because there are only incompetent people to carry them out. The one thing that we will always have in abundance is incompetence. Drucker wasn't being unkind. He was being realistic in pointing out that most people are incompetent, or at best average, just in different areas. The challenge with human weaknesses is that unhappy and unsuccessful people have a tendency to focus on them. They become preoccupied with their weaknesses and think about their lack of talent and ability too much of the time. They lose sight of the fact that each person has strengths that may need to be developed, and that these strengths can bring them everything they want. Instead, they dwell continually on their areas of lesser competence, rather than on their areas of potential excellence. Developing strength and resiliency. We are all brought up with feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. Our self-esteem and self-confidence are fragile. Our positive feelings about ourselves are like balloons easily popped. We have to work on ourselves for a long time to build ourselves up to the point at which we are tough and resilient, especially in the areas in which we make mistakes and drop the ball. Every person is a combination of peaks and valleys. You have areas of great potential strength and you have multiple areas of weakness, where you perform in an average or mediocre way. Drucker also wrote, "The goal of business is to maximize strengths and make weaknesses irrelevant." The law of concentration has an inordinate impact on the person you become. Whatever you dwell on grows in your life. Strong, competent people are those who dwell on their strengths and abilities. Weak people are those who dwell on their weaknesses and their inabilities. You always have the choice of looking at your glass as being either half full or half empty. However, to develop and maintain high levels of self-confidence and the success and happiness that go with it, you must consciously choose to dwell on your strengths most of the time. You are a bundle of resources. One of the most obvious characteristics of leaders in public life is that they view themselves as bundles of resources that can be utilized in many different ways, like a tool can be used to achieve different results. Leaders are adamant about applying themselves only in those areas in which they can perform well and make a significant difference. They focus only on those areas in which they can succeed because of their special talents. One of the best questions you can ask yourself, over and over, is what can I, and only I, do that, if done well, will make an extraordinary difference in my situation. The law of concentration also says that all great success in life comes from single-minded, focused concentration on doing one thing or a few things extremely well. Success comes from staying at a particular task, the most valuable and important task you could be doing, until you succeed. Every great human achievement is preceded by an extended period of dedicated, concentrated effort. However, there is little to be gained by digging determinately, if you're digging in the wrong place. As Benjamin Trigo, management consultant, said, "The very worst use of time is to do well what need not be done at all." Assess your strengths and weaknesses. This brings us to the importance of self-assessment with regard to your strengths. When we do strategic planning for corporations, we deal continually with what is called concentration of power. Where does and where can the company focus and concentrate its resources to achieve extraordinary results in a competitive market? We start from the viewpoint that a company has a certain degree of flexibility in determining what it offers to justify its existence in the marketplace. We say that the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. The customer, or the person that the company is organized to serve, in some way is central to every calculation and every decision. We put the imaginary customer in the middle of the table and strategically plan with him or her in mind. Increase your return on energy. The critical issue in corporate strategic planning is to increase the return on equity invested in the corporation. It is to allocate and deploy assets in such a way that the rewards that the company earns are greater than they would be in the absence of the planning exercise. We start off with establishing clear values, a clear vision of what the company wants to become in the future, and a written mission statement that describes the strategic objective and positioning for the company. Each person needs to do the same for him or herself. The purpose of your personal strategic planning is to enable you to increase your return on energy. Because your time is your life, and your mental, emotional, and physical energies are your most valuable resources, your job is to organize your efforts in such a way as to give you maximum rewards and satisfaction for your energy invested. Differentiate yourself. Each company and each product or service either has or must develop a unique selling proposition. This is the key to differentiating the company and the company's products and services from the competition. Often, this is called a competitive advantage. Sometimes we call it an area of superiority. In every case, it is essential to determine how, where, why, and in what degree a particular company or product differs from every other company that is competing with it for the right to create and keep customers in that market niche. What applies to competitive businesses applies to you, too. You are the president of You Incorporated. You are the president of your own life. You are the president of your own personal services corporation. You are in business for yourself. You are self-employed. No matter who signs your paycheck, you are working for yourself. From the day you take your first job to the day you retire. You may work at someone else's office or company, but you are always self-employed. The failure of many people to recognize this fact of self-employment and to behave as though this were true is a major reason for low self-confidence, underperformance, unhappiness, and failure in working life. As the president of your own company, selling your services in the marketplace to the highest bidder, you are completely responsible for identifying your own unique selling proposition. What is it that you do better than anyone else? Why are you special or different? What is your area of competitive advantage? If you had to write, in 25 words or less, exactly why someone should hire and promote and pay you to do a particular job, rather than hire, promote, and pay someone else, what would you point out as your area of superiority? Join the top 3%. Many people have a tough time with this question. What matters at this point, though, is that you are asking the question at all. The very fact that you are thinking this way is moving you rapidly into the top 3% of working Americans. Only the top 3% see themselves as self-employed and self-responsible. And they are the most respected and important people in any organization. Your first question is, what am I really good at today? What is my personal area of competitive advantage or superiority in my current job? We are all responsible for asking and answering these questions for ourselves, today and throughout our careers. No one else can or will do it for us. The amount of knowledge in every field is doubling every 2 to 3 years. Your skills are becoming obsolete at a more rapid rate than ever before, and new skills are essential for survival, not to mention success in highly competitive markets. If your knowledge and skill isn't doubling every 2 to 3 years in your field, you will soon be out of your business, and someone else will have your job. Whatever got you to where you are today is not enough to get you any further, as the title of Marshall Goldsmith's best-selling book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, Writers of the Round Table Press, 2011, suggests. This is an inevitable and unavoidable fact of working life. Designing your future. Your next question is, what could my area of competitive advantage be? Of all the areas in which I might be able to develop an area of superiority and become really good, taking my values and goals into consideration, what could it be? The final question, perhaps the most important question on this subject, is the question, what should my area of competitive advantage be? If you could be really excellent at any one skill sometime in the future, what one skill would help you the most to move to the top of your field? Imagine that you have no limitations on what you could learn and master. To accelerate your career, what should you really be good at sometime in the future? Find out what you are meant to do. A friend of mine built a company and sold it a couple of years ago. He had money in the bank and he decided to change careers. He had lots of time to think about it and to make the right choice. He went to an industrial psychologist and took an entire battery of tests. He underwent several interviews to find out what he was ideally suited to do in a new career. At the end of this process, his friend, the industrial psychologist, sat him down and told him that his greatest strengths were consulting and presenting professional development seminars for managers and salespeople. My friend got a little bit angry. He said, "But you know that I'm afraid to speak on my feet in front of a group. You know that it makes me nervous and I become tense even thinking about it." His friend said, "Yes, I know that's true. But you didn't ask me to tell you what would be convenient and easy for you to do. You asked me to tell you that would be the right thing for you to do. And the area where you have the greatest potential strength at this time is in consulting and training managers and salespeople. Be prepared to develop new skills. My friend realized that what he was saying was true. He then went out and took courses in which he learned to overcome his fear of public speaking. He learned how to give presentations to a professional audience. It didn't take long, and 6 months later he began his own consulting and training business. He is now doing extremely well and he's never been happier in his life. It often happens that your strengths are like muscles, undeveloped and requiring a long period of exercise to build up to the point where you can begin to win competitions. Michael Jordan said, "Everybody has talent, but to translate it into ability takes hard work. A journey of 1,000 leagues begins with a single step. You start by sitting down and setting goals for yourself. You decide where you are now and where you want to be at a specific time in the future. What additional knowledge and skills will do the most to help you to increase your return on energy invested? In what areas will a particular skill be useful and valuable to you and enable you to stand out from others? Be aware of yourself. The key to becoming a fully functioning, fully integrated personality, the basic factors underlying self-confidence, is for you to become more aware of who you really are, and what you really want in life. Sometimes, as a result of looking inward, you will discover opportunities for great breakthroughs in your life that you may never have seen before. You begin with the process of self-disclosure. In determining your strengths for the future, you begin to engage in a search process to explore all the different areas in which you may have hidden talents. One form of self-disclosure is to fill out a series of questionnaires and tests that examine parts of your personality and skills of which you might be unaware. Invest in yourself. Some years ago, I personally went to an industrial psychologist and took a battery of tests to find out my strengths and weaknesses. Much of my adult life has been affected by what came out of those tests. The tests pointed to areas in which I had natural talents and abilities. They also revealed my personality weaknesses and areas in which I had little interest or ability. These tests, such as the DISC/values assessment, can do the same for you. They reveal a lot about you. They tell you what you like and enjoy, and what sort of work you will find most fulfilling. They tell you your true values and major motivators, and what areas of activity will make you the happiest. Their results can save you years of hard work in the wrong job. If you have the time and the money, a detailed process of personality and career counseling is a very valuable exercise that can have a major influence on the rest of your career. If you lack either the time or the money, there are many books full of self-grading tests available in the bookstores. You can take these tests yourself, and they will give you very accurate feedback. There are several companies that have developed entire batteries of self-grading assessment instruments, each of which can give you insights into your strengths and weaknesses in particular areas. Self-analysis and self-disclosure. There are also a series of exercises in self-analysis and self-disclosure that you can complete yourself with just a pen and paper. These exercises can often open your eyes and help you to see possibilities that may surprise you. The first exercise is for you to realize that you have already done many things and played many roles in life. Starting in childhood, you have learned how to do and perform a remarkable variety of tasks. You have a tremendous number of skills and talents that you have developed over time, many of which you simply take for granted. Once, some years ago, I applied for a job as an extra in a movie. On the application form, one of the questions asked was, "What skills do you have that might make you more valuable as an extra in different scenes in the movie?" They gave me a checklist of about 200 different things that a person might be called on to do in a movie. My job was to tick off all the activities with which I had had previous experience. As I went down the list, I still remember being astonished at the incredible number of things that I had learned to do, without even thinking about it. They ranged from a variety of sports, to driving a variety of vehicles, to riding horses, to holding babies, to washing dishes, climbing ladders, swinging on ropes, swimming, diving, jumping, tumbling on the ground, and on and on. Perhaps one of the reasons that so many people have such low self-confidence is because they have never sat down to make up a list of how talented and capable they really are. List all your current skills and capabilities. The first exercise for you is to write down a list of everything that you do on a regular basis. Write out all your roles and the parts you play, from the time you get up in the morning, until the time you go to bed at night. If you play sports or exercise with various equipment, write them out. If you are a parent, cook, a dishwasher, a driver, a shopper, a reader, a writer, a worker, performing various jobs, a buyer, a seller, a negotiator, a teacher, a manager, a salesperson, a typist, a telephone answering person, and whatever else you can think of, write it down. Be as detailed as possible. Walk through your day, minute by minute and hour by hour, and write out everything that you do over the course of a day, a month, and a year. When you've completed this list, you will be astonished at how many skills you have developed and which you use on a regular basis. Cluster your roles and activities. The second part of this self-disclosure and self-analysis exercise is for you to make a new list on which you begin to cluster the various things you do into categories. One of your categories may be parenting. Under the parenting heading, write down all the things you do as a parent that are part of parenting. As a wife or husband, write down everything you do as a wife or husband, which you perhaps would not do if you were not married. If you are a manager or a salesperson, or if you hold any other position, write down everything that you do in your job, day in and day out. You might use a heading entitled Friend, and under this heading you would write all the things that you do as a friend. Phone people, visit, write letters, socialize, go out for dinner, meet after work, and so on. If you play sports, put sports as a heading and write down all the physical activities that you engage in. If you are interested in reading, write down all the subjects that you read about on a regular basis. Set priorities on your roles. When you have completed clustering all your roles and activities into groups, the final step in this exercise is to set priorities on each group. Which group of activities is most important to you? Which group of activities is second most important to you? If you were going to be sent to a desert island for an indefinite term, and you could only take 2 or 3 of these activities with you, which ones would they be? When you have numbered your clusters, or groups, by priority, you will have created a very clear picture of who you are and what is valuable to you in life. Your next questions might be: 1. What do I need to do in each of these areas in order to get the very most satisfaction and enjoyment from this area? 2. What do I need to do more of or less of? 3. What do I need to get into or get out of? 4. What is more important within each cluster and what is less important? 5. If I had to choose, how would I choose and select among the various things I do? You will be amazed at the kind of answers you start to come up with. In my experience, you will first be surprised at the clusters that appear at the top of your list, and then by the clusters, some of which take up an enormous amount of your time, that are not really very important to you at all. For you to really know yourself, you have to take the time to analyze yourself like this. On paper. Ask for input from others. A second exercise that is very helpful in learning more about yourself, and one that has been a turning point in the lives of many people, is to turn to someone close to you and ask him or her what they think you should do with your life. Ask a person you trust what he or she thinks are your strong points and your weak points, your strengths and vulnerabilities. What advice would someone who cares about you give to you about the kind of work you should be doing and the kind of talents you should be developing? Even people who don't know you very well will often be able to give you insights about yourself and your possibilities that will be extremely accurate, and might even be in areas you haven't even thought about. Once, I was driving with a business associate to an appointment that was some way out of town. We had a chance to talk as we were driving along, and I was wrestling with what I should do at the next stage of my career. I was seriously considering getting into the business of professional speaking, and giving seminars and eventually producing audio programs. On a lark, I turned to him and asked him, in all honesty, if I were going to change careers, what do you think I would be good at? An important insight. My associate sat and thought for a while and then he turned to me and said, "Brian, I think you would be very good at speaking and training and giving seminars. You do a lot of reading and research, and you seem to enjoy sharing your ideas with other people. The best use of your time would be to share your ideas with audiences." Until then, I had seldom spoken publicly, and I had never given a seminar. before. I won't say that that incident was the turning point for me, but it was the final assurance that I needed to make the decision to become a professional speaker and trainer. This business associate, a casual acquaintance, could see it clearly. Today, I address more than 250,000 people each year all over the United States, Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. I've spoken on every island in the Caribbean and in Mexico. It must have been the right decision. Determine what motivates you. A third method of self-analysis is to apply the work of Dr. David McClelland of Harvard to assessing your own areas of greatest potential. McClelland developed a method of interviewing people to find out what sort of jobs they would be best at. His conclusion is that people fall into three basic categories. You can usually tell whether a person will be suited to a particular job by finding out whether they fall into one of these three areas. The method of interviewing, which you can do on yourself, consists of asking the job candidate detailed questions about previous peak experiences or moments of personal pride in his or her past. The categories were determined by analyzing what most motivates a person. What are the sorts of activities that a person most enjoys and has been most successful at in their previous life and work? There are basically three motivational profiles, and each person falls into one of them, as do you. The achiever profile. The first is what is called the achiever profile. The achiever is a person whose greatest sense of accomplishment comes from achieving something that is almost exclusively an individual activity. A person who enjoys climbing a mountain, or completing a course of study, or running a race, or overcoming any obstacle to win through by him or herself would be classified as an achiever. There are specific strengths that achievers have and specific jobs that achievers would be best at. One of these would be in the field of selling. Because selling is an individual activity, the people who are the very best at selling are those who most enjoy individual activities and individual accomplishment. The leader profile. The second type of motivation is that of power. A person with a strong power orientation is one who enjoys getting things done through others. Power in this context refers to being able to influence and coordinate the activities of others over a period of time to complete a complex task. A coach of a sports team or a manager at work who really enjoys what he or she is doing would be a person who is most motivated by this kind of power or influence. The affiliation profile. The third kind of motivation is called affiliation. A person with an affiliation motivation is one who most enjoys working harmoniously with other people as part of a team. This person enjoys both supporting others and being supported by others. He or she enjoys cooperating with others toward a common goal and seeing the goal achieved successfully. Questions to ask. When you apply this test to yourself, you ask yourself: 1. What do I like to do more than anything else? 2. What have I done in the past that has given me my greatest feelings of self-esteem and personal pride? 3. What have been my personal peak experiences in life? Whatever you seem to have enjoyed the most is a good indication of where your strengths lie. Your strengths may be completely hidden, but by asking yourself these questions and facing the answers unblinkingly, you will begin to uncover them. When you uncover a potential strength in yourself and begin to develop it so that you can use it in your life, you begin to feel really terrific about yourself. Make a real difference. Your most important job is to apply yourself where you can make the greatest positive difference. This will be the area where you get your highest return on energy. When you are working and expanding your capabilities in an area of your greatest strengths, you feel terrific about yourself. You feel like a winner. You enjoy wonderful feelings of self-confidence and self-esteem. Accept your weaknesses. In almost any area, it is also important for your happiness that you develop a proper perspective on the inevitable weaknesses that you may have. Here are some insights that may be helpful to you. The first insight is that almost every weakness can be viewed as a strength, inappropriately applied. If you use one of your strengths where it is neither required nor helpful, it actually can be a weakness if it interferes with your ability to get the result you desire. Sales versus management. I had a gentleman working for me at one time who was direct and extremely aggressive. He started in sales and was very successful, and then he was promoted into a management position. As a manager, his aggressiveness made him the kind of person that no one wanted to deal with. What I had forgotten was that his major skills lay in selling, in an area of individual achievement. His aggressiveness was a strength in selling, but it was a weakness when he was put into a management position in which his strength could not be used properly. Many of the so-called weaknesses that you might have are merely strengths, being used in the wrong place and for the wrong purposes. Situational weaknesses. A weakness may simply be situational. There is an old saying, when you go into the woods, you must expect the mosquitoes. Sometimes you will be criticized for the things you do, and you may conclude that you are weak in these areas. However, it may be that criticism just comes with the territory. I speak on sales, management, and motivation to a great number of people. Occasionally, people come up to me or write and tell me that they didn't like my talk. Even though more than 99% of the emails and letters that I receive are highly favorable, there are inevitably people who, for some reason, are not happy. These are the inevitable mosquitoes that go along with my profession. You will find that there are inevitable complaints and criticisms that go along with whatever you do. They may not be indicative of a weakness at all, but, rather, merely opinions or observations by another person. You may be hypersensitive. You may have a personality weakness that has been caused by a previous experience. Someone may have taken advantage of you in the past, and you may be hypersensitive to being taken advantage of again in the future. You may have been raised with destructive criticism and have, therefore, developed a very thin skin as a result. The slightest suggestion that a person does not completely approve of your behavior might cause you to react negatively. This may be seen as a personality flaw or weakness, whereas, in reality, it is merely a result of your previous reinforcement history. It may also be something that will be helpful for you to decide to get over. Amenable to education. Your weakness may be amenable to education. Often the only thing holding you back from extraordinary accomplishment is a little bit of learning. If you take the right courses, listen to the right audio programs, and read the right books, that may be all that you need to do to become exceptional in your field. Your supposed weakness may be irrelevant. It may be that someone else expects you to have certain qualities and abilities that you simply don't have, and that you are not interested in or capable of developing. Often the disappointment of others can cause you to feel that you are deficient in some way when, in reality, that particular skill or ability is not important to you. Anyway, weaknesses are good indicators. Finally, what appears as a weakness can be a key indicator of the type of work or activity that you should not be engaging in. It may be that you don't enjoy that area of endeavor at all. If you try to do a job or task, and you consistently do it poorly, this may be a way of nature telling you that this is the wrong field for you. Strengths and weaknesses. The most important point to remember with regard to your strengths and weaknesses is that everybody has both. There are areas in which you are strong, and there are areas in which you can become extraordinary in your performance. There are areas in which you are weak and you probably should not be spending any more time there than is necessary to assure yourself that you are good enough. Move ahead. Take the time to analyze yourself carefully. By practicing self-disclosure with yourself and others, both in written and spoken form, you will develop a higher level of self-awareness and self-honesty. As you become more knowledgeable about your strengths, you will become more self-accepting of whom you really are. As your level of self-acceptance increases and you begin to respect yourself for your unique talents and abilities, your level of self-esteem and self-confidence will go up as well. When you minimize or downplay your weaknesses and simultaneously identify and maximize your strengths, you will become a peak performer in everything you decide to do. Action exercises. 1. Decide today that you are going to become very good at what you do. That you are going to join the top 10% in your field. 2. Identify the most important skills you have, those skills that are most important to your doing an excellent job. 3. Determine your natural strengths and abilities, those jobs and tasks that you do well and most enjoy. 4. What is your competitive advantage? What is it that you do better than almost anyone else? What should it be? What could it be in the future? 5. What sort of work motivates you the most? What activities give you the greatest sense of personal satisfaction? 6. In what areas do you achieve your highest return on energy? What do you do that really makes a difference to yourself and your business? 7. Take some time with a pen and paper to complete one or more of the exercises explained in this chapter so you can be sure that you are doing exactly the right work for you.
This is Brian Tracy book titled The Power of Self-Confidence. Dear members of the Yeez Media family, we sincerely hope that you are happy with the story. Give us credit for your sacrifice of time and follow-up. Stay safe until we come with the narration of the book in the next part. Be the best you can be. Thank you.